Rajat, good having you. Thanks so much for taking the time out. What's your initial sense, Rajat? This announcement seemed a lot less fiscal, lot more supportive, backstops, and therefore, is that positive for the yields, do you reckon? Because otherwise there was this lurking fear that ratings, currency, and yields, all of them might come into action if indeed it's a larger fiscal-led support.
Yeah, thanks, Neeraj. See, I think in terms of the ratings, you see, I think if you look at India, and we are good on the current account side, I think, but where we have a potential challenge is the ratio of outstanding debt, that is government, central and state government debt to GDP. Now the ratio is important. And if the denominator doesn't grow, that is the GDP itself doesn't grow, the ratio potentially tends to increase given the amount of borrowing that the government is going to do, even though RBI is going to be, is in action and will be called into action given these special situations that we have prevailing now. So to the extent that the government, it's important that the GDP needs to grow, importantly. So we need some stimulus, and in a sense it's good, it's focused on the MSMEs. So, potentially, so the GDP probably doesn't grow much in this year, FY21. Instead of GDP growth will be close to zero, possibly, but potentially in 22, you see a better GDP growth number. So it's important that GDP grows, and it's important that it grows because otherwise that the ratio of standing debt to GDP is going to look much more adverse. So there are two things. We have two rating agencies who are at BBB minus. There's one who is at BBB, probably with a negative outlook. So I think it's possible. They all come down to BBB minus, but I think it'll be some time before they even consider putting India into a junk grade. So I think yes, there's a lot of stuff that the government needs to do, but I think a rating downgrade or even a consideration, at least pushing India beyond BBB minus, still a long time away. And before that, I think the economy should revive. So potentially we don't go down that route at all.
Rajat, as somebody who watches economy, markets, and I would reckon both sides, were you disappointed with the package that was announced yesterday, or do you believe that was the right thing to do? And is it market constructive, is it market neutral, or is it market negative?
Well, I think, okay, there's still probably part one, there are a couple of more which are likely to come. And if you start from the PM's speech, what he said day before yesterday, obviously the support is part of that. And then other things like reform, changes to certain laws regarding land, regarding labor, things, infrastructure spend, is all part of the bigger package, as it were. But I think the highlight of the package, there are two main highlights, I think, as far as I'm concerned, for the package yesterday. One, obviously, which was the headline news today, that 3 lakh crore sort of guarantee for MSMEs, which I think is very critical, but there are people who are really under stress. They employ a lot of people, and to that extent does have an impact in terms of the underlying consumer demand, job creation. All of that is very, very important. And the way they're doing it, I think, relatively straightforward for people to execute. So the bank up to 20% of the outstanding loans to MSMEs, and because it is guaranteed by the government, it doesn't call for capital charge, so the capital needs don't go up. And while not all of it will be, some of it probably goes to set off outstanding loans and so on, but still I think it's still a very important piece. I think that MSME gets support is very, very key. The second thing obviously is the DISCOM support, about what they are doing, because DISCOMs have been under stress, and it's not recent. The last 1 year, 15 odd months, we've been seeing the amount of outstanding debt, outstanding payables that DISCOMs need to make is going up. So that's important as well. So I think these two are the key takeaways. And to your question about disappointment, I think it's work in progress, and it's a very challenging situation. So the government is trying to come with creative solution. They had something on that fund, which is 10,000 crores, and it probably levered up to 50,000. And it's the first time that potentially government looking to that fund will invest into equity for SME. Those are creative solutions. So yeah, I think
I think we're just losing Rajat briefly. We'll just try and reconnect and try and figure out his thoughts on the power space as well, because I think that's the active one in the session today. I mean, just look at what's happening to power really in trade. Adani Power, Tata Power, almost everything related to power is doing well. Maybe not NTPC, because I think that one-time hit kind of spoils the picture. But all of these names are doing well. BHEL is up another 5.5% at 28. A remarkable up move today in BHEL in the session today. But Tata Power and Adani Power are the two top performers in the session today. Torrent Power up about 4%. So I think power is the pocket, which is the most active one. If we have Rajat back, Rajat, we kind of got the gist of your answer, the last one, before we lost you a bit. Okay, I don't think we have him, unfortunately. We'll just try and see if we can get him for a couple of more answers. Quickly, some market spotting while we just wait for Rajat's feed to get connected. Tata Motors correcting a bit, so about 3.5% lower. Yes, it's about 3.5% lower. And I think companies like Bharat Forge, Motherson, and some of the other auto ancillaries too have given way in the session. So that's one pocket that is looking slightly weak right now, global auto. Let's wait and watch if once the economies open up, does that sentiment turn around? Because the valuations for some of these stocks might be on a relative basis, fairly attractive. What is doing well? Jubilant Life is up about 5%, so that is okay. There is strength in Magma, FinCorp, Edelweiss, some of the other smaller NBFCs. So that's the other one. I mean, GIC Housing, Diwan, etc. is separate, but some of the slightly larger ones also have some benefits to themselves. What is one doing well? I think the likes of, I mean, the small cap space is all sketchy names which are correcting in the session today as well. But as Rajat was referring to, and as I was saying, power seems to be the order of the morning. Rajat, do you think do you think that this is a day's positive of sorts? Because the counter view that was given to the bullishness in a stock like NTPC, for example, was that there was never a doubt about the receivables. They would come in at some point of time or the other. But this hit that has been taken or given, that ROE hit, sets a bit of a wrong precedent, and that might be negative for companies like NTPC and Power Grid. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, without getting into specific names, obviously I can't do that. But I think these are like special circumstances, and I mean, even the discoms are under, there's a sharp fall in demand. Those issues, the underlying business. I mean, if you look at the manufacturing companies are shut. So who are good, like people who pay higher tariffs, or service industry is shut, who again pay higher tariffs. So I mean, this is a special situation for discoms, and so it's, I think, given the entire environment, and it's a limited hit. It's not it's a one time. It's not something which is ongoing. So I can realize where it's coming from. So I think one would look at it in sort of that perspective.
Okay, Rajat, my final question to you is, how constructive are you on telecom? Now, apparently the companies, or Bharti Airtel in particular, has submitted a proposal for some base tariffs, etc. That sector is buzzing right now. Lots of money moving in as well. But if you look at a 10-15 year view, after a hibernation of 10-12 years, it's just come into the limelight in the last 6 to 9 odd months. Do you reckon that the runway is wrong, even though the sector may be narrow?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there are enough tailwinds behind it. Consolidation obviously is there. Demand for telecom is just, I mean, we have seen this work from home, what it does to demand for bandwidth. So, I mean, the runway is there to stay, and incrementally, I mean, we don't see incremental competition coming. Pretty much all the global players have tried their hand here. So I think we had a consolidation. So I really think a telecom has a good runway ahead.
Rajat, any final thoughts? I will ask you a few things that I wanted to ask you. Anything interesting that you've observed in the last few days which you would like to share?
No, that's an interesting point. What's, I think, going to happen is that it's certainly we are not in the camp that sees a V-shaped recovery. We will see that the economy will take longer. I mean, the longer the lockdown is, the longer it's going to recover. But hopefully, probably this quarter is not going to be good. But Q3 and Q4, hopefully, we should see beginning to see some recovery going forward. I think the friction. I think the biggest thing what the government has done yesterday. I mean, the friction. I mean, if you look at the velocity of money. I mean, if you look at the money multipliers, the money multiplier has been the government. I mean, RBI has fused into terms of liquidity, but the multiplier has shrunk because the banks are being conservative, risk averse. So to the extent that the government comes with guarantee sort of schemes, hopefully the multiplier gets better and money again begins to flow in the economy, which I think is sort of a good thing for the economy in the medium to long term.
Okay, Rajat, we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for taking the time out and being with us and giving us your thoughts. Really appreciate your time.